All right, hey guys, just a quick daily review today. I didn't get a chance to cover the daily setups from yesterday, so I thought I would do that this morning. And I also noticed, I just wanted to mention this one. I have a potential volume setup on Bitcoin. So any of you crypto enthusiasts out there, take a look at Bitcoin and see if that might match your plan. There is a little bit of a volume signal that happened yesterday, and we're trying to trigger it right now. It looks like we might have just triggered it, so and it looks like there's still time to get in on that if you're interested in it. So this one is good because it has um, a decent risk to reward up to this prior high pivot here, and so the probabilities, um, you know, I don't know what the probability of this trade is, but the risk to reward is looking good, and we are starting to look like we're trying to do an uptrend here. We've done this kind of major bottom on the longer term. Um, we've kind of had this, and I'm not one of these chart pattern traders per se. Um, like I think this is some type of triangle or something, but in any case, so we put in this potential bottom here. We've closed strongly above it. We've been kind of basing here at the highs, and we did a daily pullback, and this volume signal is coming in saying there is potentially a buyer here, and so a break over here over yesterday's high can be a good swing trade back up into this the area of this high pivot, and possibly beyond. So we are a little bit extended here, and so maybe this doesn't make sense in your trading plan, but that I just wanted to bring that to your attention in case any of you guys trade crypto out there. Now to the stocks, um, I noticed, so ATVI, let's see here, we got a monthly signal that happened, or a quarterly signal happened last quarter. We're kind of doing this monthly potential basing pattern here, trying to find a bottom. And so you can see on this daily, we've got demand coming in here, demand coming in here, supply hitting here, and supply hitting here. So we've churned through some supply. We put in a new high, it looks like here. I think we broke over that prior pivot and 2 pivot high there. And so we took out that high, but it's closed back within, so it's not decisive in either direction. So the probabilities are, it could be that this would come back down to the bottom of the range, but a break above here could be a signal that there's some strength in it. I noticed ExxonMobil. We have this kind of like pullback situation. We're coming back down to the lower end of this base, and we're putting in a volume signal here, so keep an eye on that one. That one is looking like it has a kind of a good risk to reward back up to the high of that pivot. Same thing here. This is a pullback on WDC. Potentially, if so, we've got a volume signal yesterday. We pulled off the highs. We're kind of down into the middle of this base. This is not perfectly clean, but we do have this pivot here as kind of a level, and these prior kind of pivot highs here. So just keep an eye on that one. DWDP, I think this one was a nice one. Yeah, kind of a nice fluid pullback down to this pivot high of this base here. So we're trying to test that as support. It looks like support came in here. Test a little bit below that. Support's coming in again. At least I see this as somebody snatching up shares here down at this level, at this general area, and so this could be a good setup to potentially take it back up to the high of this pivot and perhaps beyond. Long-term context is pretty good too, because we've got a monthly signal last month. We're kind of oversold on the quarterly chart down here at this quarterly basing area from a long time ago, back in, looks like 2015, yeah, through 2016. So there's this base that happened, and we broke way above that. Now we're tracing back down, retracing back down to come back and test it. And it looks like on the monthly, at least, there's a little bit of a volume signal there showing some support. So we could get a little bit of a move at least. And so keep an eye on that one. What else do we have? Already looked at ExxonMobil, Microsoft. It did have a little bit of a signal yesterday. Not much that I can do with that. So, and see, I look for, specific setups. Like this would have been my type of setup here: pullback, volume at the lows, at a prior level, indicating that somebody is continuing to step up the bid here and continuing to buy. And so this is the type of setup that I look for. I have a signal here, but this is not the type of setup that I look for. So that's not something that I would necessarily buy. There might be something that you can do with that, but that's not something that I can do anything with. So let's see here, nothing real clean there. TSM, this is kind of my type of, pullback here. I wish there was a nicer level to play off of here. We have this kind of gap area, and we've put in volume at the highs. So, you can see we hit supply up here, and we're at a weekly kind of pivot area, the high of that pivot. We put in supply and pulled back off of that. And now we're starting to put in some demand volume here. And so this could be better as a swing back up toward that high, though it might take a little bit of time to kind of base out and turn back around. Nothing there on that. MNST, that one's kind of already played out. MNST, I had called that setup when it broke this base over here, and this, rocketed straight up to exactly where I had indicated a target at. So that made me, pat myself on the back a little bit there. But yeah, so supply is coming in exactly at where I was kind of looking at as a potential target for this one. And I kind of wish I had just bitten the bullet and taken that trade, even though I'm not much of a swing trader currently. So anyway, SO, tiny pullback there, nothing really attractive going on. So this one, AMD, is a little bit of a pullback, not exactly what I look for, but we do have kind of a pullback and a base that has formed here, and demand is coming in at the lows of this base. You can kind of see that in a couple of different areas there. And it's basically testing this pivot high as support and seeing if the bids are going to step up and hold us there and drive us on beyond that. So that one is decent. It looks like, let me see if I can pull up my tools. I'm using a different mouse today than I usually use. So yeah, so that one definitely has 2 R's up to that pivot high. You can see 2 R's would be right there at that pivot. And so this is becoming an attractive setup for a long. WMT, that one's kind of okay. We've got a volume level right here, and we've come back down, and there's evidently some type of buying activity back at that same level. So, it is yet to play out whether or not that's going to hold it there or not, but we do have about 1 to 1.5 R's up to that pivot high, so it's decent. It's not clean, but there is something there. Disney, nothing to do there. We've hit kind of some supply there. That has to play itself out. See where we can find some new support. Intel, And there's nothing that I can do with that right now. It needs to clean itself up. Cop, just not bullish enough for me. There is a level here. You can see this level, and we're retesting that as demand. So, this may hold. We're kind of at a weekly pivot high level from quite a while back, and I guess it was a year ago, 2 years ago, and we found support there a little bit again, and now we're retesting that same level. And the thing is, this will probably need a little bit more time to kind of turn around. I'm not really sure what to do with that one. eBay. So there's a signal up here that I would interpret as supply, but we've had this bullish gap. We're up here at the high of this base, and this is a situation where the probabilities favor a move back to the low of this base. But if we get a break, and especially a close above this area, then that can indicate strength. So, and if you notice on the monthly over here, we've got this kind of inside 1, 2, 3 continuation pattern that was trying to trigger, and we'll see if because we only have a couple days left in the month. I think I don't even know how many days we're in April, but so if this triggers today, then that can be that 1, 2, 3 continuation pattern, and these can even have 4 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4 continuation, that kind of thing. So the idea is the same. It's that there's a strong move, then basing and churn that happens as demand steps up, and then we continue on above that. So that's what the 1, 2, 3 kind of looks like or indicates. BABA. Yeah, nothing to do with that. There's this base that's forming, and it looks like the bids are stepping up. So this could be a good signal for a breakout. I don't really trade those, so I'm not an expert in those, but that's this probably looks pretty good for that, honestly. And this could indicate that the the decision has been made, and we're going to break out today. So who knows? But you take a look at that one if you're a breakout trader. Let me quickly go through these green ones. GIS, nothing there. We've already kind of done a little bit of a pullback and triggered, and just kind of waiting to see if it's going to go. Mile, nothing there. This one, no. Lin, this is, we've done a pullback. This is sloppy. Volume has kind of come in where it's like we're taking out supply up here. We've come down, we've retraced back up, and we've hit supply. We're kind of churning through that. We might come back down again and then continue upward. It's just not yet ready, as far as I can tell. VZ. So this one looks better. We've got some levels here that we're retesting as demand, and we're getting these volume signals to kind of confirm it. I think we're going to need the volatility to evaporate out of this a little bit before it looks good for me. Maybe we could put in a weekly bar here that could look like a little bit more of an attractive trade, but the risk to reward is pretty good here, but this kind of thing is not really that clean, so I would probably move on and look for something better. Nike, kind of have a 1, 2, 3 on the weekly that might set up. It's not super strong, not super good as far as I can tell, but a trigger above that could be good. And this is the good thing about this is we've had this sell off, some volume came in, we broke above, put in a high. Now we're retesting that prior high as demand to see if there's demand enough there to hold us. And you can see that we had volume come in at the highs, volume came in at the lows, volume came in yesterday And so I like to see these kind of where uh, volume stops at the bottom of the range, then we kind of do this sideways basing pattern and then put in a volume candle before rocketing above it. So I've seen that happen a lot. This is a really tiny candle from yesterday. I'm not sure. I don't like that aspect of it, but I don't know if it's super meaningful or not, because the reason that there's a signal there is mostly because it's such a small range, not so much that it's necessarily high volume for the range, so, or high volume. So anyway, that one can be good on a break above, but it's not not as obvious to me. Okay, so this is a nice little pattern where we've had volume come in repeatedly. A little bit came in here, and now we're hitting some more volume here, which seems like we're taking out the supply of whatever was up there, and maybe 1 day down, and then we can continue above that. I'm not really sure. And MGM, I don't really see anything there. So we're back up into the highs of this area. You can see there's a level that was here. So we've just broken out of this base. And we're hitting some churn. So basically what I would look for here is, so we broke above this churn candle, so that indicates strength. That's kind of what I've indicated, like that monster trade where we had churn up at the high of a range where, the probabilities favor going down, but if we break above it, then that can indicate somebody's really buying. And so this one triggered strongly. Somebody is buying it evidently, and then we put in a churn bar after a strong move. So this is kind of a 1, 2, 3 type of setup. So it could continue and rocket higher on the on today's bar. So, or even on the subsequent bar. So we'll have to see on that one. That one's not bad. It's not super clean over here because we do have this level here, but it might be good for at least 2 hours, or maybe at least let's see here. So up here into this range would be 1 hour, so 2 hours kind of up into this pivot, 2, 3 hours up into this pivot. So yeah, it's not super clean, but there is something there. So anyway, that's the review for today and for yesterday's signals. Don't forget to check out that setup on Bitcoin. And we will see what we have later today. If these videos are helpful in any way with your analysis, please give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment below, and I will see you guys this afternoon.